I made a bet Jesus could be the odds. He can shine through me cause I'm the son of God. Don't feel nobody, I'm rockin' feel God. Can't rob with two cause I ain't feeling God. I made a bet Jesus could be the odds. He can shine through me cause I'm the son of God.
Welcome to the Question Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Olivier J. Darcis. And you guys, you ladies already know this is a home that gives you deep understanding on topics, questions that'll help you carry yourself better in life. Be a better believer in Christ no matter what level you're on. To be and run your business a little bit better. Because the topics, the questions, the conversations that we have on my iPad here, whether it's by myself today or with the guests, it's to help you enforce the things you need to learn, meditate, and implement for your life in your life for a goal that you have for your life. And remember that I say this. It's to help enforce the things you need to meditate, learn, and implement because you have a goal in mind for your life. You have a goal in mind for your life. Because I know I have a goal in mind for my life. I know the goal that I have to achieve and be, because I want to be a certain type of man for my wife, for my family, for my kids. I have a goal in mind for my life. And some of you already realized watching the previous episodes that this home, this place, these episodes has the resources to help you do the same things because you have your own goal in mind for your life, whether it's to make more money, invest, because whether you're tired of being an addict or doing or being or just moving in life the way that you're moving, because you realize that your life is the product of your character, the product of who you are. That makes up your life, and you realize that you need to be a better you. And it all starts with having your goal in mind. And remember that I say this, I'm going to be saying this a lot, or however much times that I'm led to say it, because it all starts with a goal that you have in mind for your life. Today, we're going to be talking about educating yourself and breaking down educating yourself. But that's the foundation of it, okay? I want to stress that enough. That is the foundation. Because I realize this thing. Moving in life mindlessly. Like, I was growing up, I was just going to school, doing the things that I'm doing. I'm not saying school is bad. I'm not saying for you to drop out. I'm not saying any of that. No. Because I learned things that I needed to learn. No matter where you're going in life, what journey you're on, there's always something for you to learn. And God is always going to put things for you to learn, even if you're going in the wrong direction that he envisions for you. Simple, plain as day, right? But I was moving in life mindlessly. I didn't have a goal in mind for my life at the time. I'm not going to talk about elementary or middle school or anything like that, but high school is really what I want to talk about, where I was just working, going to school, going to track, working, going to school, going to track. I didn't have a goal in mind. Didn't want to be a star athlete. Didn't want to go to the league or go pro. Didn't want to do anything in mind, particularly. I was just doing the things just to do the things. And that's why I say you have to have a particular goal in mind, because there is no growth when you are moving mindlessly. Growth only happens when you have a particular thing in mind. And I didn't realize it until years after high school. And I'm not that old. But I didn't realize until years after high school, years after after I dropped out of college, because I was still moving mindlessly. High school, I was moving mindlessly, doing the things that I said earlier. In college, I was doing things mindlessly because I was just repeating the same thing, but in a different location. Still didn't have anything concrete or particular that I wanted to do. Yes, I went to college and I had a degree while I was striving for a degree to be a physical therapist. Yeah, I was just doing it just to do it. It's not like it was something I was really passionate about. Nothing. No, I was just doing things mindlessly. And even when I dropped out, I was still doing things mindlessly. I was still working 2 jobs, sleeping in my car between jobs, making money just for the sake of making money, like doing things mindlessly. It wasn't until I was fed up living like that and I started to let God truly guide me, where I started to realize, like, yo, I don't want this for my life. I don't want to be 60, 70, 80 years old doing things mindlessly. Like, if you were to look at my life then, you would have thought it was okay. Like, my parents did what they did to support me. All that. Like, my situation. You yourself, you have your own situation because that's your life. That's your own situation. But I just didn't like the way it was going. Something felt off. Like, I felt no purpose. I felt no guidance. And I realized, like I said earlier, it's because of the character that I carried. I didn't strive or didn't want to grow in life. I was just doing things just to do it, just for the sake of money. For the sake and the reason because the media portrayed these things that I should have, that I should be in life. And it all led to money and all led to all these things. And that's why I want to talk about educating yourself. It starts with this, because in order for you to truly educate yourself with purpose, yes, you could do it mindlessly with how the school system works and all these things. But in order for you to educate yourself, like truly, it starts with you breaking out of that mindless repetition. But to do so, you need to have commitment into something that sparks the need or the want for growth. For me at the time, it was one of the reasons that I said at the beginning of the podcast. I realized where my life was going. I didn't want to be 60, 80 years old, working at 95, working 2 jobs, busting my ass, busting my butt, doing that. No, I didn't. And I realized I had to change my character. I had to change myself. And that ultimately led me to finding my purpose and all these other things that started compounding itself. But it wasn't until I had a commitment, and that commitment was not being in that position, or not being in that position in the future. And that's when I finally broke my mindless reputation. And the reason why I'm talking about education today is because I really wanted to understand what educating yourself truly means. And that's why I had all these realizations as I was writing these notes for this podcast, because my spiritual father at the Worldwide Kingdom Ministry, Prophet Dr. Curving, recently did this crossover surface, and every time I mention his name, I want to extend out an invitation for you guys to come to the Worldwide Kingdom Ministry in Pompano, Florida, because he mentioned that in this year, 2025, it's the year to educate yourself, build your intellect, and build your intelligence. And I started to ask myself, what does educating yourself truly look like? And it starts after you break out of that mindless repetition. Okay. So once I realized that, like, how well are you educating yourself? How does it look like to truly educate how does it look like when you're truly educating yourself? And this is what I learned as I meditated on it. I'm going to give you guys this example. And I want to say this because there's 2 aspects on understanding and breaking down education and how to truly educate yourself, just so you can truly get it. Because like I said, it first starts with having a goal in mind for your life, so you can break out of that mindless repetition. But after you do that, you need to understand the 2 aspects of educating yourself, so you can understand how to educate yourself truly. The first aspect is realizing that education comes in seasons. And I say education comes in seasons and use the word seasons as a key word, because there are different seasons where you learn different things. Many times people want to spread themselves thin, and by learning so much things and spreading themselves thin, and they never become a master of one thing truly. And the reason I say education has seasons is because if you look at the game of football, but before we get into the game of football, education has seasons. It has seasons. One season you can be learning one thing, then the next season you could be learning something else. And you change what you're learning by the season and not the field. The reason why I say all these things, you change what you're learning by the season, not the field, and you have to realize that education comes in seasons, is because we try to learn so much things that are outside of our field. We try to learn so much things that are outside of our field. And the reason why I'm giving this example because look at the game of football. No matter where you are located, football is football. American football. It's the same field, same 120 yards, but there's seasons to it, right? Once you go pro, or even if you're not going pro in the game of football, there's seasons to it. And each season, you are focusing on something different. One season could be footwork. One season could be strength and conditioning. One season could be your talk game, so you can build your negotiation skills or whatever the case may be that involves your talk game, because once you go pro, you really have to articulate yourself really well to save yourself from drama and all these things. Like, I don't know if you're getting it. There's multiple, as seasons change, there's multiple things that you have to learn. And in a season, you could be focusing on one thing, but the next season, you could be focusing on something else. And once you realize that education and educating yourself comes in season, is when you truly realize that, hey, in this season, hyper focus on this thing. Don't spread yourself thin. Don't try to read 20 books on 20 different things. Read 5 books or one book 20 times till you get that thing down, so when you're in the next season, it compounds. So when you're learning something new, you'll take that over, and you'll truly take it over, and not taking 5% of it over because you only read it one time. You only went over it briefly because you're trying to spread yourself thin. That's what you have to truly understand when it comes to education being seasonal and not it being field-based, or you moving as if it is field-based. You have to look at the season that you're in while you're in that field when it comes to educating yourself, because you're staying in the same field, but as seasons change, you are learning different things, so it compounds. Not you learning different things in different fields. No, that's the main thing that I want you guys to understand. Because the second aspect of it is, once you understand education being seasonal, you will understand that education, like I said earlier, only comes after a commitment to a goal. And I say education only comes after a commitment to a goal, because I'll give you this example. I was going to Ohio to visit one of my investment properties. I was reading on the way there. I was on the plane. We was flying there. That was my second stop going over to land in Ohio. I was sitting next to this young man named Antoine. He was reading a book too, and I noticed he was a reader because he was underlining. Only readers who underline while they're reading in a physical book are truly readers, because they want to truly understand and grasp what they're reading. And I shared with him this app called Bookly that helps me do that and compile it all into an app and do things a little bit better. And he liked it, and we started having a conversation. And I realized the type of person that he was, because he was a big guy. He's a guy that owns 9 properties. He's a project manager for a large Fortune 500 company, all these things. And we was bouncing ideas, and he was blessing me with words of wisdom on investing in real estate and even buying businesses. And then I asked him this one question. And this is why I say education only comes after commitment to a goal earlier. Because I asked him this question: How do you stay tapped into real estate consistently? Because he has 9 properties. Like, how do you stay tapped in, and when you're tapped in, and stay diligent where you are, or when you see an investment, you know it's a good investment, and you pull on it. And he told me this thing blatantly. I don't. What sense does it make overwhelming myself with something consistently if I'm not making a move on it? Like I said, education comes with a commitment to a goal. And he said he doesn't stay tapped into real estate. He only taps into real estate when it's time for him to make an investment. And that blew my mind. Because like I said earlier, with education being seasonal, when you're in there and you have that goal in mind, and you know what field you're under, and you know you're in this season, you're learning about this thing, you're not spreading yourself thin by learning multiple things at the same time and things that might be in another field. You're learning things that's in one field in the season that you're in, and you're meditating on that one thing, or that small group of number of things in that season. Because he said whenever he's looking to invest in property, that's when he looks at all the information he needs, because he's done that so much. Like I said, he bought 9 properties and he owns 9 properties. Not sure if it's more than 9 doors, but 9 properties. So every time, like when he was on his first one, he hyper focuses on learning that area, learning that demographic, learning whatever it is he needs to learn. And as he is getting ready to buy another one, he restarts that engine, and everything he learned in that previous season, certain tricks, certain methods, certain rule of thumb, certain words, certain terms that carry over are carried over because he spent his time on only so little. He spent his time on a few things in the season that he was in, that previous season that he was in. That's why I say education is seasonal, and education only comes with a commitment to a goal. And that's why I mentioned these 2 concepts when it comes to breaking down education, when it comes to learning how to educate yourself. Because when you see education being seasonal and not and learning to hyper focus on one thing in that season, not spreading yourself thin on learning things from multiple different fields, or spreading yourself thin on when you should be focusing on one thing this season, and that also that education starts after a commitment to a goal, that's when you will truly excel. That's when you will truly compound education and compound your growth, not compound education. You would compound your growth, because growth happens. Growth happens the way it happens. It just happens. Growth happens the way it happens. It just happens. That's funny. Growth happens the way it happens because it just happens. You can't schedule it. You can't time it. You can't do none of that. It just happens because you have a commitment to a goal. And then in that commitment to a goal, you will know what you need to focus on in that season, so it can carry on and translate to you accomplishing that goal, you making more money, you learning how to invest, you doing things in life better, running your businesses better, you being a better believer in Christ, you living a better in life because you're now working and you know what you need to focus on to change your character to make your life better. It all starts there. So how are you going to do that today? At the end of the day, my name is Olivier J. Darcis, and I'm here helping you do to do life better and do it with Christ. Peace.